Hello everyone. Today's my lecture is on exoplasmic transport. So exoplasmic transport means the exoplasm, the cytoplasm of the neurons that is in constant motion. And exoplasmic transport is vital to nerve cell functions since the movement of the various materials occurs through it. And the exoplasmic transport is of two types, rapid and slow. Rapid transport. By rapid transport, some materials travel 100 to 400 mm per day along the exoplasm and constitute the rapid transport. Now, in this form of the transport, microtubules that plays a very important role. And rapid transport is bidirectional, means both away from the cell body and towards the cell body. Anterograde or orthograde rapid transport that occurs from the neuron cell body to axon terminal, and it is driven by molecular motor, kinesin and dynein. The material transported by the anterograde rapid transport include membrane-bounded organelles like endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, Golgi-derived vesicles, microvesicles containing neurotransmitter, lipid, protein, actin, myosin, and clathrin used in recycling of the synaptic vesicle membrane. Then retrograde rapid transport that occurs from the nerve terminals towards the cell body of the neuron, returning the materials for the degradation or reuse. And retrograde rapid transport is driven by molecular motor, dynein, and has a velocity of about 200 mm per day. Then which materials are transported by this method? So the material transported by this mode that include empty microvesicles for recycling or degradation by lysosomes and nerve growth factor. Some toxins like tetanus toxins and viruses like herpes and rabies that may reach in the central nervous system by retrograde transport. Retrograde exoplasmic flow may also carry tetanus toxins and neurotropic viruses, for example polio, herpes simplex and rabies, along the axon into the neuronal cell body in the central nervous system. And it has also been employed by neuroanatomists for charting out the neural pathway. The examples of the retrograde transport are, first is transport of viruses. The chickenpox virus, also known as varicella zoster, that causes herpes simplex, reaches the cell body from the nerve terminals in the skin by retrograde transport. The virus may remain in dormant state in nerve root for many years before causing herpes zoster afterwards. Then transport of toxins. Tetanus toxins at the motor neuron ending is transported to the cell body by this retrograde process. Then transfer of the nerve growth factor. The nerve growth factor is taken up by the presynaptic terminal and transferred to the soma by retrograde transport. Then reuptake of the synaptic transmitter. Neurotransmitters like the norepinephrine released at the nerve terminals are rapidly removed from the synaptic cleft by reuptake into the presynaptic neuron. In the presynaptic terminal, the norepinephrine is repackaged into the vesicles or deaminated by the mitochondrial monoamine oxidase. Now this reuptake is an active retrograde transport process, and some of the vesicles may be transported back to the cell body, and this may provide a feedback signal to the cell body for further synthesis of the transmitters. Choline is also taken up by the axon terminal and reused for the new acetylcholine synthesis. Then what is the transneuronal transport? So trophic substances like the nerve growth factor are transported across the synapse to the presynaptic membrane of another neuron. This is called transneuronal transport, and this helps in the maintenance of the synaptic contact. Then second is slow transport. So in fast transport that occurs by both anterograde and retrograde. Now slow transport. So the materials traveling very slowly, 0.2 to 8 mm in a day, in the exoplasm that constitute the slow transport. Slow transport is only unidirectional away from the cell body, anterograde, and it is responsible for the flow of the exoplasm containing the protein subunits of the neurofilaments, tubulin of the microtubules, and soluble enzymes. So this is the figure of the fast axonal transport. So this transport from nerve cell body to axon terminal, this is a anterograde transport, and from axon terminal to nerve cell body, that is a retrograde transport. So for the fast anterograde transport, the material transported are mitochondria, vesicle containing peptide and other neurotransmitters and some degradative enzymes. And speed, this is a 400 mm per day. And fast retrograde, that is about 200 to 300 mm per day. And material transported by the fast retrograde are degraded vesicular membrane, then absorb exogenous materials like the toxins, virus and growth factors. And the slow anterograde, that is about only 0.2 to 8 mm per day. And material transported by slow anterograde are cytoskeletal elements, for example neurofilaments and microtubule subunits, and soluble proteins of the intermediary metabolism, actin. Then what are the differences between the fast and slow exoplasmic transport? So first of all, differences between the velocity. So in the fast exoplasmic transport, that is a velocity of 20 to 400 mm per day, and here slow exoplasmic transport, it occurs at 0.2 to 0.4 mm per day. And fast exoplasmic transport may be anterograde or retrograde in direction, but slow exoplasmic transport, it is always anterograde. Anterograde transport moves membrane-bounded organelles like the short tubules of the reticulum, mitochondria, small vesicles, actin, myosin, and clathrin used in recycling of the synaptic vesicle membrane. Retrograde transport returns the materials from the nerve terminals to cell body for degradation or reuse. And in slow exoplasmic transport, it carries the protein subunits of the neurofilaments, tubulins of the microtubules and the soluble enzymes, and also moves some cytosol. Then in fast exoplasmic transport, that occurs along the microtubules using molecular motors, dynein for retrograde transport or kinesin for anterograde transport. And in slow exoplasmic transport, the cytoskeleton moves as a whole due to continual polymerization at the leading end and depolymerization at trailing end. The exoplasmic matrix move with the cytoskeleton. Thank you.